go ahead and get going today. I've got 5:04, so let's call the October meeting of the Victoria Parks Commission to order. 5:04 on Monday, October 12th. First thing on the agenda is to see if we have any citizen communication. And
It's hard to hear you.
it's hard to hear me?
over
Okay,
here.
sorry about that. I'll speak louder.
Well, it's just your.
He's having to take his earphones off over there. Any members of the public that wish to address the commission? Okay. Hearing none, let's move on to item C, announcements and reminders. I don't have anything. Does any, Jason, did you have anything for that?
No, sir, I sure don't.
Okay. We've got stuff from members of the commission later on in the agenda. The minutes of the last meeting, which was held September the 14th.
Weren't we supposed to vote on something from Mr. Rivera for this meeting?
It's on the agenda, but we're going to talk about that in a second. Yeah. The minutes for the September meeting are attached. Does anyone have any additions or corrections to those minutes? Gail, you might be the only one who was here.
This won't let me log in. I haven't looked at them, I have to tell you the truth.
Okay.
Oh, this totally went
Well,
away.
on the off chance that you're willing to second my motion, I'll make the motion that we accept them as presented. I've looked at them and they appear correct to me.
Okay, I'll second them and I'll review them too.
Okay. All those in favor,
Aye.
say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Okay, so those minutes will be accepted as presented. Okay, so let me address your question, Gail, about we're missing some folks today, unfortunately. One of whom is Mike Rivera, and that's Mike's item about naming the splash pad. And so I'm thinking that we might pass that until Mike can be here to present it and talk about it or whatever. That's sort of my thought. Does anyone have a concern
Is there a
about
timeline
that?
on that we need to be, that the city had?
No, ma'am.
Okay.
I think this thing just came up kind of organically anyway, so I don't think there's a timeline we're up against or anything like that. For the benefit of those that are here for the first time, Commissioner Rivera suggested a couple of meetings ago that we make a suggestion to City Council to rename the splash pad over there on,
Or just name it.
or
Or
to
just
name,
name
I'm
it.
sorry, to name the splash pad that's over there by the softball fields off of Ben Wilson, down close to Stroman, in the community center as the Gary Moses splash pad.
To replace
Because-
the city pool that was named Gary T. Moses.
The pool was named that before, so that was his item. So we'll take that up when he's here, if that's
I
okay with
might want
everybody
to
else.
add on to that, to name that whole complex, the skateboard park too. It's like right there by that. Make it the Brother Gary, whatever. We could come up with names, but yeah.
Well, why don't we put that on the agenda
Sure.
for next month and
Sounds
have a
good.
discussion about that, if that's okay with everybody else?
Sure.
Okay, all right. Well, let me introduce our new commission members that are here. We have 4 new commission members. Over on my left, Laurie Eder, Laurie Eder joins us. And Laurie, you're you see the manager at Conley Creek?
General manager at the club at Colony Creek.
Okay, great. And then we've got Ashley McGee. And
Hello.
Ashley is like I said a while ago, the kayak lady. She has the kayak franchise, I guess, in the park.
Yes, sir.
And is building that business. And then our other new commissioner is Justin Urbano. Justin, welcome to the commission. We're glad to have you.
Thank you so much.
Looking forward to having all of you all. Stephen Fort was the 4th member to join us, but evidently he's ill and not able to be here today. We're also down two other commissioners, two incumbent commissioners. Gloria Rodriguez and Mike Rivera are not here. One further commissioner, Jesse Olivares, is going to be here probably in a little bit, but then he'll have to leave
Right.
again by 6.
Yes, sir.
Okay? So anyway, that's, welcome, everybody. That's the, we had champagne or something like that, we would have a toast, but we don't have
I'll
any.
toast you to
Water.
water.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Cheers. All right. We have got to elect officers. We can do that by taking nominations. We're awfully shorthanded, it looks like to me, to do that, since we'd be potentially asking people to.
What positions?
I think we just have 2 positions, is that right?
That is
Jason?
correct. So in the first meeting in our bylaws, the first meeting in October, it states that we need to elect the officers for 1 year. So we have the chairperson and then the vice chairperson that we need to elect for. And currently, Lee, you're the chairperson and Mike Rivera is the vice chair.
Okay.
I would
don't-
almost move to stay with those appointments. If we could nominate Mr. Rivera when he's not here, I think he would accept.
Subject to him refusing, I suppose we could do that,
Yeah, absolutely.
if you want to do that.
Yeah, I mean, you
I
can
motion.
go that route with it, or you can go any other way, but I agree with you. I think ultimately it's up to the commission and how you want to continue to move forward. But yeah, I agree with you, Ms. Repka, that it would probably be beneficial for us just to keep the people who we currently have in place.
That sounds like a great idea to me.
Well, do you want to make that motion?
I would make a motion to keep our same officers in place.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, good deal. We'll just continue as we are for the time being.
They also say that's the best way to be able to get onto a working committee is if you're not there, right? That's usually how people get appointed, so.
That's right. You get it, we'll tell Mike that he got shanghaied one more time. Discuss and update priorities to the 2012 Parks Master Plan. Jason, this is your item, and you had supplied us with some, a portion of the existing master plan, correct?
That is correct. So, so I appreciate the time, Commission, to be able to speak with you about this today. You are correct. I did send everybody an email late last week just to give you the 2012 Parks Master Plan that staff had originally developed. And so in working with our upcoming Parks Master Plan, as well as working with our grant application through Texas Parks and Wildlife, we quickly realized that we did not have a grant, or I'm sorry, a master plan on TPWD files. And just to kind of backtrack a little bit for context, we have our duck pond that we're looking to renovate in Riverside Park. It's a $1.25 roughly million project. And so what the city is hoping to do is to submit a grant through Texas Parks and Wildlife for a 50/50 reimbursable grant, if you will. And so one of the items, if anybody knows about grants, you get all these, different scoring criteria that you have, and it's, selected amount of points that you can get for each category. But one of the things is a master plan on TPWDs in their hands, basically on file, which we currently don't have. However, they did tell us that it would be beneficial to at least bring the 2012 master plan to the commission for you to update the priorities, and then for us to be able to submit those priorities, updated priorities, if you will, with the grant application itself, and that it could provide some additional points for us. We wouldn't get the full 5 or 6 points that we have allotted for that particular category, but nonetheless, we would be able to get some kind of points from that. So that's the reason why I sent that email out to y'all last week, just asking for an updated priorities list. One of the things that I didn't do before I sent that email to you was to actually look through some of these and tell you which ones we actually accomplished and which ones we weren't able to accomplish. So with that being said, we can always just jump right into it if y'all are good and start on page 34. Y'all good with that? Does everybody have a copy, I guess?
I think you should be able to get
I
it
don't-
on your screen, maybe.
Okay.
I'm not sure.
My
Ja-
screen
Ja-
closed
Jason,
out
is
over
that,
here.
is it on our,
I know I got it on my email here.
is it available on this desktop deal or not? Or I'm not sure if it is or not.
You
I don't see
emailed
it,
it
I
to
don't see a
us?
link to it, but
Can I have a hard copy?
Ladies,
I've got this.
let's see if the ladies use.
Where we were talking about.
Gotcha.
I don't know if the master plan is in there. I was showing her where the agenda packet was on our screen.
We could,
you.
if somebody wants to, could we just have this one
Do
copied?
you need this? Do you need this to talk?
I can,
That's, yeah,
I can open it up in my phone too. I can open it up in my phone.
well, yeah,
Okay,
and I
great.
think I have it on here too, so.
Yeah.
Are these good to keep, or we're gonna hand these back? I didn't know what.
You can keep those, that's fine, I've got more at the office.
Okay, because I was just thinking.
I was gonna ask, if anybody wanted a copy to work
I
off
have a
of.
copy.
What is that?
If you need
It's
it
those
back, I'll use
pages
the
that-
copied version also.
Yeah, that's a good thing.
Does everybody have it?
Yeah, that's cool.
You have one?
Check it out.
I may have one here on mine. I may be able to bring it up on mine.
Here, use this one.
Well,
And I'll make my notes on here.
oh, here we go.
We messed you up, man.
Okay.
Yeah, I've got it, so. It's like page 34, right?
34, yes, sir.
Okay. Yeah, I can see it, okay. To the extent I can see anything, okay.
Y'all just let me know when you're ready, and I'll run down page 34 and just let you know what we have accomplished.
Okay,
And then that'd probably be easier.
yeah.
From 2012, right?
Yes, ma'am.
So, okay, yeah.
2012 master plan.
Everybody got it? Okay. Jason,
Okay.
why don't you walk us through it?
Okay, so page 34 should say priorities and implementation, and it should say table 9, facilities priorities. Everybody on there? Okay, cool. Okay, so again, just to be easy with this, let's see. So number 4, ranked to number 4, restrooms. We did complete, again, we had to kind of take this and just kind of run with it because we didn't know how detailed they meant by restrooms. But we did get a little bit of this completed off of the next page, which is 35, which was number 1. And it was upgrade, rebuild restrooms at Community Center Park, Hopkins Park, and Grover's Bend. We were able to complete the ones over at the Community Center Park. So going back to page 34, that number 4 ranking of restrooms that has been somewhat completed. The next item is going to be number 11, exercise stations along trails. However, we haven't really installed exercise stations. We have a couple pull-up stations, but I could tell you that's just in progress and ongoing is what I would put for that one. So just a heads up on that.
Are these the stations down after the Rose Garden? Along that
yeah,
area?
They're kind of like bars that you would pull up, do small pull-ups on.
I know, those have been there for a long
Right.
time. Are you putting more in, or are you talking about those? Like 3 or 4 stations along that?
Those were the ones that we
Trail.
were talking about, yeah, but we do recognize the fact that we need to add more.
Okay.
So what % complete would you think that project is?
Oh, I would say very minimal, maybe 5%.
Okay.
So you have new exercise stations you're going to install?
We would like to, but that's part of the priorities. I'm just going through here and checking off
What
some
you
of the
wanna
things
do?
that
Some of
we
the
that we
things that
have
we've-
completed already.
Okay.
Okay.
Let's see. Number 14, we haven't completed, but that is ongoing. So we have started clearing out a little bit more vegetation and undergrowth throughout the banks of the river, trying to gain more river access. So that's ongoing. The number 15 says historic archaeological areas. CVB is working with interpretive signage when it comes to that throughout the park system. They have, I believe, 4 different sites in Riverside Park that they've already had historical signage put up. Number 16 is disc golf courses. We do have 3 disc golf courses. We have a few down in Riverside Park as well as Ethel Lee. Fishing areas is number 17. That's something that we're trying to accomplish with the duck pond project. So we're going to have that fishing pier inside the duck pond as well. So hopefully that can take care of that one as well.
Gonna stock that pond?
Yes, ma'am. Let's see.
Are you considering any fishing areas along the river, the Guadalupe River, like building some piers along there? Like at the boat dock is one little pier, but that's the only pier. I think in the past, there was some discussion of some other piers along the river.
I would kind of leave that again to the, I know I sound like a broken record, but the master plan with the conceptual renderings and the community input that we're going to have with that, that'll definitely be able to help us figure out where those could be located at. The next one is the swimming pool, number 23. We haven't really done anything as far as building a new swimming pool, but we have partnered with the YMCA for their new swimming pool complex. So number 23, yes, in a way of partnership. 24, we have improved the pavilions, with one of them being new over at the community center. Number 25 and 26 kind of can somewhat be touched on from the soccer field project that we currently have ongoing over at Riverside, which will be at Red River and Bluff. Number 27 is the tennis courts. We retopped 2 of them, and we actually transitioned one of those into a pickleball courts. And then the skate park has been completed as well.
What tennis courts are you talking about?
That's a good, as far as
H-E-B
what this
courts?
talks about or what we're talking
The
about?
tennis courts here, which ones are you talking about?
That's a good question.
The
The-
HEB
the
tennis
t-
courts.
the what?
The HEB tennis
H-E-B
courts.
courts?
at
Oh, the
community
HEB.
center are all
What
retitled.
is that? Where is that?
Yeah. So I don't know specifically what they mean by tennis courts, just facility and what they want to see improvements on. But we did retop the ones over at the HEB courts and then the
Where's
ones
that
by the
located?
communities.
Community center.
Community
Yeah.
center. So there are other things named there, different things. The softball complex and now a tennis court. So,
So that's all we had completed on table 9 of the facilities priorities. Again, we don't have to change these at all. If there's anything that you feel could be moved around, you feel that maybe there's a different priority, we can definitely have that discussion.
Well, let me ask you this, does it, for purposes of what we're trying to accomplish with, we need to take a look at it, reevaluate the priorities, which is that, and that's something this body has the ability to do?
That's correct.
Okay, would we need to make a recommendation to the council that they approve what we do later on, or for purposes of this, do you think the commission's approval of the?
At this point, all we need is commission approval for this. One of the reasons is to satisfy the Texas Parks and Wildlife grant application requirement, because we are moving forward with a completely different Parks Master Plan, which is going to redo all of this anyway. So the whole idea behind this is really just to check our boxes when it comes to the application information that needs to be with TPWD.
Do you think it would be, I'm sorry, go ahead, Justin. I was going to ask you, you think would it be a good idea to move the fishing up towards the top of the list, since that's the kind of the goal of the, potentially part of the goal of the grant?
I don't see how it could hurt.
Yeah, okay.
So when is, you say that in the future that they're gonna change it anyway, what is the timeline on that?
Sure.
As far as from this point, because like you're saying, I'm getting that right now the focus is just to try to put the duck pond at the top of the list to get that extra point. And, how much should we change as far as moving around the master plan if you say it's gonna be changed anyway, and how long?
Yeah, so if So if you want to look at maybe, if you don't want to address the entire thing, maybe we just look at the top five, and we can move maybe some of the top five around for us to satisfy that portion of it. But the parks master plan is going to be going to council on October 20th for the selection of a consulting firm. And shortly after that, I would say within a month's time after that execution, we should be able to move forward with the project. So, Commissioner, I would say that after October 20th, within a month's time frame, we would start that process, and it's an 8 to 10 month process to be completed.
You know, just for some context, that's really what this body, I think, is going to concern itself with a great deal, is becoming pretty deeply involved in that planning process. I think the commission was involved to some degree in this planning process. I don't think I wasn't on it then, so I'm not sure what degree of involvement it had. But we, you know, the revision of our bylaws and our whole purpose has really been kind of refocused to focus on planning and to really up our game in terms of planning. So, yeah, this is, as Jason said, this is kind of a,
Is this the list that's the results of the citizen survey done in like 2015?
before that, I believe.
Well, before that, but yes, from all those
This
surveys.
is really.
I remember one like around 2015, 2014.
And all the surveys are actually in the back. They were all compiled in there.
So I think that maybe the easier way to go is just to look at the top five potentially and see if there's anything that we want to change. So that way we're not running through 29 different categories and
Yeah.
potential projects and items. Unless y'all want to be here for a while.
I have a question, though.
Yes, ma'am.
So, what is city staff? What have you guys seen? So, since this was 2012, you did the survey, I think, in 2015. And I know you've been here maybe less than a year, but you've got staff, obviously. So what are the top 5 issues that you've heard from the citizens in the past 2 or 3 years that maybe would help us guide? Because basically what you're asking us to do today is this an administrative procedure, so you have the information to go to the grant for.
That is correct.
So
So-
what are the top 5 hotspots for this, that you've heard?
That's a good question.
Or even maybe you have a personal one that, from your experience, that you've seen that, you know, what's your input on that?
Well, I can tell you in the 3.5, 4 months that I've been here, dog park is always brought up. Duck pond's always brought up. Trails and walking systems are brought up fairly regularly. Updated playgrounds. I mean, those are just the top 4 or 5 that come to mind. Jamie, is there anything that
I
you
would
can?
say the dog park is probably number one. We get quite a few people ask us about either a swimming pool or a water park.
I say swimming pool, probably.
Yeah.
We've
My
had
grandma
quite a
had
few.
mentioned something for senior citizens. She wanted me to say that.
Okay.
And also, I've been going to the pavilion since I was younger to play basketball, and that's been the same ever since I was younger, that basketball court, and that's something where I know a lot of young men go to play from that area.
Sure.
So from personal experience, that's one that I would say. So,
I
at the
could-
dog park, I hear that often. My grandma mentioned that also.
I can tell you the as far as programming and what we're lacking is we're really good with sports, and we're really good with targeting the youth. We aren't so good at targeting teens, and we aren't so good at targeting the active adults as far as recreation programming.
Yeah, some of the senior workout equipment too might be nice. I don't know if it's really senior or just updated workout equipment like in spaces. Like instead of building a children's park, build a workout facility. I know former parks commissioners have always mentioned a workout playground for
Okay.
old folks.
A
No.
recreation center would also help with that a lot, just because especially your older adults, they don't want to work out outside. They prefer being in that controlled environment where it is AC'd or.
Outside sounds free, inside sounds paid. Is that correct?
You pay for either.
Yes, I vote for free for the public.
But yeah, an activity center was on here as well, I think. A rec center was 20, if I'm not mistaken.
And I would agree with Lee for fishing areas, if you're trying to push a duck pond, and this is for your duck pond grant, to put fishing up, you know,
Yeah, I
And a
agree
higher
with that one
priority.
also.
Because it's gonna cost money to stock the pond on a regular basis if you're gonna have lots of fishermen out there.
Yep, I agree. So if we're going with the top 5,
Do you want to, let me ask the commissioners if you guys are you all okay with maybe making a top 5 list? And then we'll,
Do these have different points for you or something, or are they all the same points? At first, I thought your rank over here was, your rank is
yeah,
your
I think
numbering
that 'cause that's
system of what
translated
you're
to fishing
ranking
areas
as number
and
one
duck pond,
priority
yeah.
for parks improvements?
I believe that's where they ranked this from the information that was gathered through community input in the surveys, if I'm not mistaken. And then just kind of plugged it into this numbered system.
And again, so when the master plan gets started, all this is going to be revised anyway.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, we'll start from ground zero.
Right.
I mean, yeah, I mean,
What
we
he's
would be
talking
starting
about.
all over again from scratch,
Yeah.
Maybe
basically,
going to
yeah.
page 35 can help too, because they have a list of specifically things that we're doing that perhaps we could decide to move forward.
Yeah, so number 30, so page 35, it goes into the project itself.
Okay.
So it goes into, the way I would look at it is 34 is more of a 1,000-foot view as to where page 35 is more of a 500-foot view. And gets a little bit more detailed into it. Some of them we couldn't cross-reference from page 34 to page 35, so we were a little confused on some of that. But yeah, either way that y'all would like to go, page 34 or 35 and how we want to update the top 5, I think would be sufficient.
Well, I'd like to just make a recommendation and just start. So based upon what we just heard and what we've seen, I'd say that we start with the top 5 being dog park, duck pond / fishing, nature trails, updated play areas / equipment, aquatics facility, which what I mean by that is like a swimming pool or a splash pad, and then I'm going to call it youth facilities, but really the basketball. What do we call that in this? So that's more than 5, but
Pavilion thing that Justin talked
Yeah.
about, yeah.
yeah, because that definitely hits the teen and the active adults.
Right.
So that does, work with that, but that's just a place to start. If we list, the dog park is number 1. I've lived here 4 years and I've heard about that for 4 years too, so it is a big deal. The duck pond, definitely I'm gonna put that up as number 2. I mean, it's made the paper, they've committed a contract, they've got a master plan on that. And when I reviewed the documents today, definitely the duck pond was an eyesore. A lot of people had a lot of complaints about the status of the duck pond, and it's already started, so it needs to be in the top 5. Trails, I think trails personally, I walk Riverside Park a few times a week, and anything that can be done with trails, to increase trails, I think everybody benefits from that. A lot of families, everybody of ages. Updated play areas for small children is always a plus, and I know that you guys have done some updating to make them safe, and that's always a concern as safety criteria always changes, so.
Right.
And then swimming, because it's so stinking hot in Victoria, Texas, so whatever we can do to put people in the water. And then I really like the idea of more basketball for pickup games and all that. So Justin, was a good.
This list that's provided, the parks put it in the order according to the survey, right? This is the order that y'all recommend?
I'm not sure.
No, I think
order
it was
that
just
it's
the
in?
survey, that
wasn't-
was the survey ranking, I think. I don't think y'all recommended it, that was what the surveys.
If I'm not mistaken,
Right.
well, typically, we can go back to that, typically that's how it's done. I mean, they get the surveys, get all the information, and then it's tallied and put into a ranking system. And so typically, that's what you would see on this.
I would hate to take that water park off there. I know the parks commissioners before myself worked many, many years on that.
I don't know that it's off, if we've got aquatics on
Nothing's
here.
going to leave, I'm sorry, I wasn't recommending anything leave the list. I was just going to shuffle them
Yeah,
to
well,
the
so
top.
Well, and
you
it
make
sounds like it's a little
suggestion.
more generic too, what Commissioner you're saying is because you're saying aquatics facilities and not specifically stating swimming pool.
Correct,
or
I'm saying
splash
something
pad.
of water nature.
Right.
Which I'm knowing that it's going to be re-investigated,
Yeah.
so.
Right.
I was going to suggest that we take a broader view of these and maybe, so let me kind of give you what I heard you said, that the dog park, which that's kind of a given, I think. But the fishing areas, duck pond, that would fit there. And then trails, I would like to think of trails to include walking trails, but I'd also like for it to also be broad enough to cover paddling and biking would be
Okay.
things I would like to see the trail part
That could be
do.
3 things in one.
The
Then
trail network.
You talked about play areas, and I think you may have incorporated splash pads in there, I don't, but children's play areas, right?
Yes.
Small children, younger children play areas. And then aquatics, I thought was broad enough to encompass, a water park or a pool or whatever might have been there. And then what, Justin's idea about, young adult sports and adult sports at the pavilions, and basketball, maybe, I don't know if there's a broader term for covering those kind of things, Jason, maybe,
Yeah, well, yeah. Outdoor courts, outdoor sports courts, something like that.
outdoor, courts, maybe something like that. Just, sports courts. It's a nice rhyme. Justin, go ahead.
Did they ever, it said here about renovating the adult softball fields. Was that something that happened already? Because you were talking about adult, I just know that, does this, because that's also generates a little revenue.
Right.
And so that's something where you were talking about adults. And, I know lots of people really love to play the softball and before all this happened, they were having some really good tournaments and stuff, so.
Right, right.
And some other things that I really liked were the restrooms and the security lighting from Grover's Bend, from Rose Garden to Riverside Stadium. I didn't know if they had accomplished that. I don't think so. I was there the other night.
No, so to answer your question, no, the security lighting hasn't been completed. And then your question on the adult softball complex, the only thing that was upgraded over there were new scoreboards. So nothing to the actual field itself.
That's something I just kind of liked because it also, you put money into it and it also brings money back.
Sure, sure.
And
So-
I really love the duck pond and the dog park though, for sure.
So, Justin, do you think you'd be okay? What if we made that item covering pavilions, basketball courts, fields? What if we,
And I like
if we
that-
made that broad enough to cover?
Right, that's kind of the
adult
same
softball?
area also. That's kind of the, because I remember I'd go see my dad play softball and then run over there and play basketball at the pavilion. So I like that.
So if we were to kind of cast that net a little bit wider
Yeah.
and pick up
encompasses
those things, that
basketball,
leaves, you
tennis,
mentioned restrooms and security, lighting and stuff, both of which are important, I think.
Yeah, I had,
Does-
because they had only done the community center park restroom, and it had said Hopkins Park, Grover's Bend, and then security lighting. I just was kind of, I like thinking of the health and well-being. So dog park and safety and things like that.
So we can change number 6, which was the basketball sport courts, to outdoor sports facilities. And then that should incorporate all of what you were just discussing.
All right, cool. I like that.
And then we can always add number 7, which could be security and security lighting.
Ashley, did you have anything you wanted to?
And this is just for the duck pond grant.
This is just to help with the duck pond grant, yes. So again, this is, TPWD suggested that we update our priorities since we haven't had anything to TPWD since 2012 or prior to that.
And you're saying that they're focused on fishing, right? That there's some focus on that, there's more points for that?
Well, no, that's the project that we're moving forward with on the application. And so I think that's what Mr. Keeling was kind of speaking to, is that if we touch on the fact that we're, fishing or outdoor, some kind of outdoor fishing component is part of one of our top priorities, that it may help with that, with the scoring.
Grant money
But-
that we want is for repairing
Okay.
that's
Yeah.
what we're going for the grant for.
Right, because at the pickup by Pump House, that's not really a good, functional fishing pier, especially when people are loading and unloading there.
Right.
And then also even the one by the boat ramp, you have boaters going right into wherever they're fishing, so it's kind of congested. I mean, we really need some expansion on that.
Right. Well, I think I think the main focus was fishing in the duck pond.
Okay, so just in the duck pond?
That's the idea.
Okay,
I think that
not
was
on the
kind of
river, okay.
Right.
But
right.
it
Okay,
did-
gotcha.
We wanted to maybe improve some access to fishing in the river, but not at places that would interfere with other things, I wouldn't
Okay.
think. I mean,
Well, and they're not going to look at our priorities and go, oh, well, fishing is in your top two, so you get 2 extra points.
Right, right.
I mean, they're just going to look and say, okay, did the commission actually update their priorities? Yes or no?
Gotcha.
And that's pretty much the extent of
Okay,
When is your,
what-
when is
what
your
I
grant?
gather.
When do you need to turn your grant in?
It's due November the 6th. Yeah, Katie and I have been working on this for the last month or so. Yeah, it's only been that long. Oh, sorry, Katie's here. She's our grant administrator, so if you
And
see
the-
me turning around, that's what I'm doing. I'm making sure I'm not lying to you.
And the things on page 35, that's just in your 10-year plan. Some of these aren't accomplished yet, and you're working on timelines for them at some point?
Yeah, 35 is, again, more of a closer snapshot of some of the stuff that was on page 34. That doesn't even, I don't know what you have, but it doesn't have any years associated with it. I know there are some pages later on in that document that does show years, but to be quite honest with you, I didn't even look at that for this
Yeah.
meeting.
Some of the things on this list have been done, and some of them haven't been done.
Correct. Yes,
So-
ma'am. So the top 5 that I have are dog park, duck pond fishing areas, nature trails, which could mean hiking, biking, and paddling. 4 would be updated playgrounds and play areas. 5 would be aquatic facilities. 6 would be outdoor sports facilities. Is that correct?
And we added 7, security.
Yes, security
And
lighting.
8, I
Security
think-
lighting,
Yeah, security lighting, 8, I think we should put restrooms back in.
restrooms is one.
Okay, restrooms for 8, got you.
Hey, restrooms now. Slash shower house at freshwater rents at Pebble Beach.
Anything else? Good. Okay. Well,
Yeah, that sounds
if
fine.
anyone would like to put that in the form of a motion, which I think we could do by simply referring to the list that Jason just recently kind of read out, we could take action on that.
I motion we go with Jason's list.
Okay.
second it.
The motion and a second that we adopt the priorities 1 through 8, I think is the way the list finally came out. Jason, do you have those written down in a way that we can, I have most of them. I'm not sure I have all.
Are you still gonna
Yeah, I could-
list all the other items too, as to not leave them out?
Yes, ma'am. What we'll do is we'll change the ranking on the top 8, and we'll include these that you voted on today, and then we'll make sure that there aren't any additional ones any copies, if you will, on the remaining.
Yeah, some of
And
them
then
seem
we'll take 'em
duplicate,
out.
like Lee was talking, trail, so.
Sure.
Yeah, y'all can combine those.
So
Yeah.
that'll be a motion to amend the existing plan, the existing parks plan by the commission, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Any further discussion about it? Okay, all in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay. Thank you all very much. That's a lot to bite off and try to chew on the first time you meet
Yeah.
in a deal, but
And it's just to help them through the grant.
But it is,
Yes.
like I said, I don't think it's terribly too much to worry about. We're going to be restarting that entire process, very quickly.
Yeah,
And
that's what I was thinking. It's
and moving
coming up
forward. So
pretty
it's kind of a
fast.
technicality and something that I think will help jumpstart, an existing project and an existing grant application. So
Exactly.
thank you all very much for that.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Okay. Next item was the one we talked about earlier, and I think with everyone's, without objection, I'd prefer that we defer that until Mike could be here to talk about it. I think he'd like to talk about the renaming thing, and if it's okay with y'all, we'll put it on the agenda for next time.
But I did like the name that he came up with when I read Mr. Jason's email and went over it. I was like, I even thought Gary Moses, 'cause I love Mr. Moses so much. And that's what it previously was.
Well, the
so.
problem will be, there'll be too many things named for Gary Moses one of these days. So, anyway, but that's all good stuff. Okay, item number 5 is Parks and Rec updates.
Sorry about that.
No laughing over there.
Okay,
Jason. Come on.
yeah, no fun here. Go back to work. What's that? Oh. Sure thing. So, and just a few updates. Obviously, one of them is the duck pond. Just thank you for working with me on the priorities, so that's definitely going to help. November the 6th is our deadline for the grant application to be submitted by us to Texas Parks and Wildlife. Katie and I have been working on that since September. Worked with Texas Parks and Wildlife with them through some of the grants and some mock scoring. And it really seems like we have a really good shot at this grant. So we're super excited about it, ready to get it submitted. And thank you for just voting on what you did, because that's one piece of the puzzle that will be able to help get this pushed out. So hopefully we'll be able to know whether or not we got awarded the grant by early summer, midsummer at the latest. In May? Is it May? Okay, May,
What's,
to like the end of the summer, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, what she said was that there were other factors involved that could delay the start, but the
That's right.
earliest would be probably late summer next year.
So did y'all hear that, late summer of next year?
Late summer next year.
As far as project moving forward, if you will, actually getting started.
what's the price tag on the duck pond?
It's 1.25. So
Is there a limit to the 50/50?
there is a limit. The limit is 750,000. So we are just underneath that. So we'll be asking Texas Parks and Wildlife for half of that 125 or 1.25, which is what, 625, 650, something like that. But it is a 50/50 reimbursable grant that, again, hopefully, sounds like we'll be able to score some good, decent points and be able to secure that grant. So excited. The next update that I have for you are the soccer fields. New commission, sorry. So let me backtrack a little bit. We have a 12-acre project taking place at Red River and Bluff. We're calling it the Riverside Soccer Complex. And we're going to be placing 6 new soccer fields in that 12 acres. The entire 12 acres will be irrigated. And so we've been working with Fielder's Choice on this project for quite some time now, and started moving forward with the actual construction of it back in July. We most recently have completed the irrigation, and so actually today they've wrapped up all the rock removal. So in that particular area, it's pretty. It's got a lot of gravel in it, if you will. Some of it had some larger chunks of rock. Make a really long story short, we ended up hiring a company. They ended up pulling out most of the rock, and that's where we're at today. Starting Wednesday, they'll be delivering additional topsoil for the grass, and then next week they should be putting the grass in. So that project will be pretty much wrapped up by next week. So the only thing that we would have left after that is some minor things from staff, as well as installation of a fence that the contractor is going to take care of for us. So.
Is it just a soccer field? I hate to say just a soccer field, but is there any plans for, in the future, maybe bleachers or concession?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, so this is just a first phase, if you will. So the second phase will end up looking at the bleachers, maybe an additional tournament soccer field across the street, some of those other smaller items like that. We are looking at establishing some type of a food truck court area, maybe in the old Civic Center, Community Center.
Convention center?
Yeah, Convention Center. I always get those mixed up. So Community, Convention, Civic, it's one of those three. But yes, ma'am,
That
those,
slab over there?
yes, the slab,
slab.
right.
The slab.
I just need to revert to that, the slab. But yes, ma'am. Okay. Really quickly, the golf course irrigation pump, I was letting y'all know last time that we were having some issues with our irrigation system over at the golf course. We do have an item on the city council agenda on the 20th to move forward with replacing the irrigation pump. That was roughly $92,000, so we'll go ahead and move forward with presenting city council that next week. The master plan is also going to be on October the 20th, so we'll have the consulting firm come down that day and do a quick presentation. We finished wrapping everything up with negotiations with them just a little bit too late to try to get it on the October 6th agenda for council. So that's the reason why we moved it to the October the 20th. So nonetheless, we'll have it on the 20th and we'll be able to move forward with that contract. Let's see, two more things, splash pads. As you're aware, we ended up leaving those open a little bit longer because we had them shut down during July because of COVID. We had them open all week, and we were finding out Monday through Thursday, they really weren't getting used a whole lot. I think we had one or two people throughout the entire day. So what we ended up doing is we ended up shutting them down Monday through Thursday. However, they still are still open on the weekends, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday through October the 25th, if I'm not mistaken. So be the last Sunday in October. And last but not least, there's a Halloween event that we're going to have in Riverside Park. So it's going to be on the 24th. It's from 6 to 8, 5
You were right.
5 to 8. Ah, I was right. I don't get to say that too often, so. But we encourage y'all to come out. It's going to be really cool. It's going to be a trunk or treat, if you will. And so the trunks will be spaced out far enough, and we'll have it'll be almost like a drive-through. So people will be able to stay in their cars, check out all the various locations where we have these organizations set up. The organizations will hand over candy or any kind of goodies to the actual kids in the vehicle, and we'll be able to have a Halloween event. So
Where is this gonna be in the park?
Jamie, I'll let Jamie talk to you about that. She's got that detailed a little bit more down than I do.
So we're referring to it as the Fox's Bend area, but it's not technically Fox's Bend. It's going to be back where you have Riverside Stadium, Low, and Ripamani Fields. It's going to be on that back road, which is McWright, that runs along the river. It's going to be just right there. It's going to start from the Tiki statue, and then it's going to end at the restroom. So it's not actually going to be out into Fox's Bend, but it'll be kind of around where the baseball fields and the Riverside.
You're going around that
disc
little
golf
loop,
course.
around the ball fields.
And I believe right now we have about 25 different businesses that are going to show up and participate in it, which is a fantastic number. We wanted a minimum of 20 and a maximum of 30, just so that we can still have plenty of space between all the booths and all that. So
Are
we can
those
have
like a
social
paid
distancing.
vendor that's gonna be?
No, we just asked for volunteers. We did not take any money from any vendors. We figured they'll contribute enough money just handing out candy to everybody. So.
Have any idea how many people we anticipate to have come through the park that day?
So we're telling all the vendors to please bring enough for 1,000 kids. So that may be optimistic, I don't know. But if you look at our Facebook, we have had just an outrageous number of people that have shared, liked, commented. It seemed to be a really big hit. So we're optimistic that we'll have quite a few little cuties dressed up coming through the park. So.
Are there other Halloween activities going on in the park? I know the zoo used to have a boo, and then there used to be a haunted trail or something?
So the Riverside Trail of Terror is not continued. Mary Helen was with Main Street back then. She's no longer a part of Main Street. So we've had a lot of changes. So that's not going to continue this year. It was a great event, but it's not continuing this year. The zoo is still doing Zoo Boo. The Riverside Food Truck Fest that usually takes place Halloween has decided to cancel this year because of COVID. So as of my knowledge, the only thing going on right now is the Zoo Boo, our drive-through Halloween trick-or-treat, and then there's going to be a firecracker 5K on the 31st, but that'll be the morning of Halloween.
That's not city related, though. I don't.
No, that one's not city related.
I know I can just tell you that programming in athletics have been, actually, I think they're a little better than what I had thought they would be in some aspects. Others, it's exactly what we thought it would be. There's not a whole lot of participation. Some people are ready to get out and ready to get active again, and there's a lot of people that aren't. And so it's very much a hit and miss type thing, but it seems like the events are doing really well when it
Are you
comes to
talking
social
about like
media.
your softball leagues and stuff, kickball leagues? What are you referring to people not wanting to get out to athletics? When you
But-
just said that.
Just some in general. I mean, some of our some of our more, I guess, historic, I guess, type leagues or softballs and or baseballs and those kinds of things, those are fairly good turnouts. But some of the newer leagues, I think, aren't doing so well. We had one that didn't make this year.
Our established leagues are, I mean, everything's taken a hit. Athletics less so than recreation. Recreation's taking the biggest hit right now, just because the main point of recreation is a large gathering. Well, obviously, right now, that's just not the top of everyone's priority list. But with athletics, our established leagues are still turning out to be successful. They're not as successful as what they have been in the past. They are down a little bit, which is to be expected. But our leagues that are not as established, that are a little bit newer, like sand volleyball, cornhole, washers, those have definitely taken a hit. Sand volleyball, we only had 4 teams sign up this time. So our newer leagues are definitely the ones taking the hit right now.
Did they, I know at one point they weren't letting fans into the adult softball complex. Is that still something they're doing? And if so, how long until that is no longer the case?
We started allowing fans to come back into so we never changed that for the youth complex. We just made that for the adult complex. But we changed that probably about middle, maybe 3/4 way through the summer season. So fans are allowed back in.
Okay, cool. And they're selling beer and everything? All right, cool.
That's the
Priorities,
main
right?
thing. That's right.
Well, I just know that it brings money also, right?
They're there just as much for that as they are for softball and kickball.
Yeah, they really love the, and you're able to social distance out there pretty well.
Yeah. Do you have anything, Jamie? That's all we got for the Parks and Rec updates.
Jason, one quick question. Do you want the commission to participate in any way on the 20th at the council deal with the consultants?
No, sir. I mean, there's, unless you'd like to be there, but the consultant would just basically review some of the items that they're going to be hitting on during the project. So no, sir. I mean, I don't foresee a need for the commission to be there.
Do you think it would be helpful for commissioners that want to come just to watch that, maybe, just to see it?
Yeah.
To kind of get a sense for, because I was in the meetings where we hired them, and so we got a good presentation, which I'm assuming we're going to see again, is pretty much what they'll present to council. Is that sort of what they'll do?
It is. It's going to be a lot shorter version.
Yeah.
So, he'll probably have 5-10 minutes max
Yeah.
worth of presentation.
Okay.
But yes, sir. I mean, you could definitely benefit from it.
Well,
That's true.
if you don't, do you think the office could maybe set a reminder to send out something to the commission?
Sure.
Reminding them to think about coming that night?
Yeah.
Just because it might be helpful for those that want to come see the presentation, because that's who we're going to be working with.
Right. No, and Katie just brought up a good point too, is that even though that we are live with city council, seating is still limited, but there is still Zoom that's taking place. So what I can do is in that calendar invite that I send over, we'll go ahead and include that Zoom link, so that way you have the option.
Okay, that's great. I think it would be helpful to see the presentation, just to kind of get a sense for where they're going to be coming from and how this process will work. Since we're all going to be pretty involved in it. Okay. Anything else, Jason?
No, the only thing that I have is next month, it'll probably look a little bit different as far as this is concerned. I mean, we'd love to be able to have a tour with the new commissioners and the commission as a whole, to tour the park system. I believe, Ms. Repka, you were the one who brought that up last time. So that's something that we're looking forward to. Chairperson Lee Keeling, if you would, we and you can touch base, I guess.
Okay.
And see how we want to move forward with that. But
I
anyway,
think
I
that'd
just
be
wanted to throw that out there.
a great introduction. That's what we need to, we really need to spend some time on that. And so, and on that score, I'm moving on to future agenda items. Let me kind of start that out with one thing. One thing I do want to put on the agenda if it's not next time, if we set up a tour or something, we may not do that, but how to get something on the agenda was something that we wanted to kind of work on, a process for how that's going to work going forward, so that everybody will know what it takes and what we need to do to comply with the Open Meetings Act and still get something that you're interested in seeing on the agenda. And so we wanted to kind of come up with some sort of process for that. And so what the hope is, and Jason and I have talked about it, of coming up with something and then presenting that to the whole group for adoption as kind of our policy, I guess, if you will, on how we'll approach that. So that's something for, if not next time, soon, because that's something we ought to do I think we ought to do it while we have new commissioners.
Yes,
So
sir.
everybody's on the same page about how that works.
Sure.
Yeah, I'm very interested in kind of finding direction as far as what our role is moving forward, and kind of what role we play, and what suggestions that we are, like you say, on the agenda. What are we supposed to be discussing? That's what I'm, because I'm very eager to learn. So even if there's something that you can email me that can help me learn, or perhaps extended learning, like some class I might have to take outside of this to kind of,
Right, well,
learn
one thing we
more.
could start with right off the bat is we could have everybody sent a copy of the ordinance and the bylaws, so that everybody at least has that. That sounds like a whole lot of stuff, but the bylaws are fairly short, and the ordinance is, it reads like an ordinance, which is not fun to read, but it's not that bad either. So there's, those are some things that it probably would be a good idea to go ahead and supply our new commission with right off the bat, is a little packet with that information in it.
Okay. Absolutely.
And we can talk about that, Jason, for next time.
Sure.
Other thoughts from commissioners on agenda items and things in the future?
I know, you're shocked and
I'm
amazed.
looking
I'm
at you.
saying no, I know. I gave my list to Jason and we're gonna go over it.
Good.
We've got a meeting this week.
That is one of the things that we talked about, and I think it's probably worth mentioning too, is that, Jason is putting, is going to be collecting on an ongoing basis things that people notice around that need attention, to the extent that's our job to, we don't really want to spend time in these meetings talking about the minutia about, what's the best kind of light bulb to get to replace that light bulb or something like that. But we do need a way to report, and Jason's got a phone number or email. How are we doing that, Jason?
Email.
Email would be best.
Okay,
Yeah.
just, so sort of an ongoing list of things that if somebody comes to you with an item that, they want to hear about, and what you can tell them is, I can get that to the department. And you can do that by don't make promises, because we don't have the authority to do anything in particular, but we certainly have the authority to be the ears and eyes, for the public, and to transmit information to the department, so the department can deal with those kind of things. And so
Like a
we
community
wanted to try to
liaison.
create a system for doing that, so that we don't spend, an inordinate amount of time at these meetings just going through a
How
big
how
list.
involved is the community and what you bring? So what I'm gathering is you're like the lead, the coach, and you bring these things to us, and we decide on them. But I'm saying, like, how involved is the community in the decisions that you bring to the commission? Like, you know what I mean? I'm wondering, like this right here, they had all these notes like that, from the community. Is that something they do often, or just every now and then?
So typically on a departmental level, it's going to be more of what we see within the Parks Master Plan. That really
Okay.
gives us the opportunity to go out and have large gatherings and large community input. But that's not necessarily the only way that we get the information. That's just a roadmap, right? So what we'll do is, or at least what I've done in the past, and what I envision doing with this commission here, is reviewing that on a yearly basis. after we get the new parks master plan in, you know, really reviewing it and saying, okay, what do we need to look at? How can we move forward? A lot of it has to do with budget. You know, there's a lot of stuff in here that's over $1 million. And that $1 million is something that we have to discuss, you know, not only here at the commission level, but also with city management and the city council. And so that's obviously going to be a big driver as well. But the rest of it is basically input that we get from employees, or it's input that we get from citizens either calling us or when we meet with citizens out in the field. That's pretty much how we get our input. And then whatever you decide to relay back to us as a department, or whatever you hear that you can relay back to us.
Kind of like community liaisons, bringing to the Parks Department issues that we come across on our normal everyday activities out in the parks.
Right.
Okay. No, I like that.
Yeah, and so what we tried to do is set that up so that, you know, we have a way that we can communicate to Jason's office about those kind of things, you know, when you hear them, instead of having to wait till we have the meeting and then, you know, Jason leaves here with a big list of everything. That's not the point of these meetings.
Well, I
Is
kind
to-
of also
is-
mean community engagement because,
Yes.
so I'll post
Yes.
little things on my Facebook, like, did you know that you have 2 free trash pickups and there things like that. And most of the time, a lot of people don't know. So that's kind of what I also
Yeah.
mean. So not only taking input, but
Yeah.
it's so.
Well,
I guess I'll get a handle as we go.
no, you
So
will, I
far,
think.
what I've seen is she pretty much represents disc golf. And since she's with Colony Creek, I mean, she does food and, I mean, aquatics and golf, and it's kind of a well-rounded, she's a lot of interest in, you know, in that area, you know, or focus in that area.
Relevant experience.
Yes, exactly, experience. And then I work, you know, with kayaking, and so I think we all are meeting different people, and you hear from these, you know, citizens who say, we need this, you should bring this, it'd be really cool if you had this.
Right.
What's going on with the duck pond? I mean, I've been hearing that for 2 years. And the most random people ask me that, and even before I worked in the park. I mean, it's just a place that we frequently visit, and it's, I mean, I think that when you engage with the people in those areas, they kind of tell you what you need, what is a hit and what isn't. I mean, I know volleyball is real popular in the park. It's something that continues to go on and on and on. So, you know, some focus, you know, you can kind of pick it up as you start sticking around those areas and talking to those people, you find out very quickly what people want. And they definitely want those certain, you know, like disc golf is huge. I had no idea, and until well, I mean, and when I was in high school, it was a big deal. And then as time has gone on, I realized that like it's taken off. It's like a, you know, rapidly growing sport. I mean, people call and they want to rent discs. I never even thought that that was a thing, you know, and it's really a fun activity, and you can do it at all ages. So I mean, and there's just I think when you start hanging out in that area, you'll see that we all have something that we bring to the table. Like I kept being asked, you know, are you going to have a snack shack? Because Jerry's Kayaks had a snack shack, and I was like, I don't think so. You know, I think I'm just going to rent boats. But everyone wants a hot dog. They want to come by and pick up a snack, and so I said, well, you know, what about a food truck court? And I mean, I think that there's just we are there to be the ears to, you know, bring in the people, you know, so they have more to do here that they enjoy already doing in other places. So,
I think my most important thing is I want to make sure that when I come to these meetings, I know exactly my place and the best way to assist you. So I guess the best way to do that is, like I said, if you have emails or any of you, information that'll help, or especially the seasoned ones here, that would be great.
Well, and I can tell you, I mean, we've kind of revamped the way that the commission's set up right now, and so that's kind of what we're transitioning into, right? So the idea behind the commission now is to be that community driver, that's community spokesperson, you know, really helping us out with the master plan when it comes to setting up meetings and getting community input and really spreading the word, if you will. Again, and then we'll be able to sit down once we have that master plan completed and go over everything and say, okay, well, this is what we're going to end up doing for the next year. And then here's some of our projects. And all the meanwhile, you supply me with all the information that you hear. So you start going to community meetings or, you're part of the Southside Coalition, correct? Or is,
President, yes, sir.
okay. So if you ever hear anything that comes out of those meetings that has to deal with parks, or if there's anything that you're interested in how the parks can help, with a partnership opportunity, reach out. I mean, if I get 15 emails from you and it has to do with 15 different items, I mean, that's great. I'm not going to complain.
Just say,
So
what is a scale? No.
And you might.
I didn't even look that way. But ultimately, that's what we're here for. We're here to be able to listen to your concerns that you get from the community.
I'm looking at number 2 on this list, the amphitheater. What is is anyone able to use the amphitheater? Like anyone at any time? I mean, can a
Yeah, it's a rent,
random,
you can rent
Just,
it.
it just have to
anytime.
rent it.
so you just rent it and, okay,
I really love that place.
right.
It's beautiful.
I mean, and it's open air, so we could have more outdoor concerts and things like that. I don't know if we're able to do that yet, but,
I always imagine concerts out there.
right? I mean, I like the Woodlands Pavilion. That's where I always go to concerts. I like to be outside.
Yeah, I know Chris very well, the director over there. Chris Dunez, the Woodlands.
All right.
All right, anything else? Well, if not, is there a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion to adjourn and welcome new commissioners.
Yeah,
thank
welcome,
you.
everybody.
Thank
We're really
you.
glad to
Happy
have
to
you. It's
be
going to be
here.
fun. I think we're going to have a good
I
time.
just want to
So,
learn from y'all.
thank y'all for
and
coming.
You're
Sorry
okay.
we had
Don't
sort of
worry.
can.
There's nothing to
skeleton
say.
crew.
Oh, no,
That's kind of weird, but anyway.
I'll find something.
Y'all are very welcoming.
We need to second the motion? We adjourned?
Yeah, we're adjourned, we're adjourned.
The things that you'll need to study is like if you come up